Hey everyone, what's up? It's TheUnproPro here, and this tutorial is brought to you by unprolive.com. In this tutorial, you're going to be learning how to make a JavaScript website. As you can see here, I have a very basic layout and template kind of going on. You're going to be learning how to create a sidebar and your main content. The benefits of this is, of course, people are asking, why would you do this? The benefits of this is the fact that you can easily change the placement of things. That's for one. And the second thing is, for every single page, not just one page at a time. If you're using HTML, you don't have to worry about changing so many pages. You can just simply change one file and change how everything is. The sidebar is dynamic, and as is the links. So let's say if you wanted to add a new page, you don't have to go to every one of your HTML files and just copy and paste the same code, because one simple file change will change the navigation and it'll change the sidebar. The main content is stored in a JavaScript file of its own. So I'm going to go ahead and explain how this works. Let me really quick show you the source. If you right click, you can see there is literally no HTML hardly. There's like barely any HTML. That's because everything is set up in JavaScript. And CSS, of course. I'll show you how that works now. The program I'm using here is called Notepad++. I do recommend it. It's free. It's really good. So in the index.html, I have doc-type HTML. And then right here, of course, I have the title, which is my website. The link rel equals style sheet, type equals text to CSS, href equals style to CSS. That is linking to my CSS file, which contains all of my basic stuff. I have a center. I have nav, sidebar, and content. And of course, I have the navigation link customizations there. The main.js is basically going to be where our functions are going to be held. As you can see, the function called addBlock, where you give the block an ID and you give it a class. The ID is so that you can stamp text into it later on using this little command here. The class is so that you can customize it with CSS. The placement is telling you where you want to place the block. So we're going to do document.getElementById placement. You can see right here how we have this. .innerHTML plus equals. So we're going to be adding to the inner HTML of it. Now we're going to do div id equals mini quote, and then we're going to close off this big quote section here, plus id plus big quote, mini quote again. Basically what that outputs is this right here, div id equals id, where id is whatever you typed here. So that's what this section right here is outputting. Do make sure you have all the letterings, the capitals, the quotes, all that. Make sure they're all correct. A lot of issues with JavaScript, like people usually have, and they're thinking, "Oh, why is my code wrong? Why is it? It should be right." It's because most of the time, you're most likely going to make a typo or a grammatical error, like a case that's missing or something. So then we're going to do class equals mini quote, big quote again to close that off. So we're closing off this little section here. Plus CL, standing for class. Plus, and we're going to end off the div. Then we're going to type, we're just going to close that new div we created. Don't worry about that because, again, we're going to be adding content to it later on. So it can be closed at any time and stuff can be added to it later. The add space or two command pretty much just adds an HR to wherever you want to place it. As you can see, what these things right here underneath these are, they're used to separate the blocks, in my case. Add content to. This is where you can add your content. So you give it the ID to add the content to, and then you type the content here. Let me go ahead and show you how that works in index.js. As you can see, add content to, basically we created block 1, and we added content to block 1. And I'll show you exactly, that is right here. So there's block 1. So that's pretty much how that part works. And then you see I added the spacer to the content to kind of space it out, and then I added the second block. So this is my index.js. These two little things right here is controlled by this one JavaScript file. The JavaScript file that controls this, the navigation, and the sidebar is in the setup.js. What I have here, as you also seen on the index.js, this is set timeout initialize, which is the function name right here, and 100. Basically, that's going to load it as soon as the page loads. It's going to add all of this content. Now, let me go ahead and explain how this works. As you can see, I have two variables up here, header and subtitle, and I have HTML code inside of these. Basically what these are is it's going to be the header of your page. As you can see here, my header, and then my subtitle. So that's what these two variables are. Next, I have document.write. This is writing to the document all of the divs that we're going to be needing. See, we need the center, and then the backslash is a line break. So if you need to line break during your writing, you can do a backslash, and you can easily line break it like that. And so we have our div equals header, which contains this. We have our div equals nav, which is the navigation. We have our sidebar and our content, which is these two things. You can add a footer if you'd like, but this tutorial is mostly just kind of showing you the absolute basics. So we close off that. We close off the center div as well. So then we're going to do add content to the header. So we're adding to the header section that we just created, and we're saying header variable plus subtitle variable. So it adds the header and the subtitle. That's how those got added. Now we're going to be adding the content to the navigation. I have a horizontal ULLI menu. You can find it if you go to Google. You can type in horizontal LI menu, and the W3 School thing should have it. Pretty simple to set up. It's not really that hard. You just kind of change the UL to list style type none, margin and padding to 0 pixels, and change the LI to display inline and float left. Now, if you run into a weird issue where your thing does not resize, your navbar does not resize, or your divs are not resizing at all, the container, like the center of it all, I have overflow hidden, and the same thing with the nav. This is actually required because if you don't have this, it's going to look super tiny. Next, we're going to be creating our side blocks for the sidebar. Add block, I named it sideblock1. I gave it the class of sideblock, and I added it to the sidebar. And then we did an add content to sideblock1, and then we simply did our HTML code right here, which is what you see exactly right here. And of course I added a spacer to the sidebar, which you can see right here. And I did an add block, sideblock 2, and sidebar option 2. This is another example. So that's pretty much how you make a JavaScript website. So I thank you guys so very much for watching, and I hope that this helped you guys, and I'll see you all later.